Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the British Labour or Conservative Party. We are proud of her, in spite of her efforts at denigrating her nation of origin. She is entitled to her own opinions. She has even every right to remove the Kemi from her name.
It is one thing when there's social media backlash on Twitter and people are coming for you in the comments, but it is something entirely different and one hell of a statement when the vice president of a country publicly says something negative about you. I think it's highly likely that the president who picked this guy from his party to be his vice president thinks exactly the same way. In this video, we're going to look at exactly what has been said on both sides and break down if any of it is justified. Let's get into it. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ, and I have a vested interest in stories like this. Why? Because I'm Nigerian and British mixed, and I've taken it upon myself to move from the UK back to Africa to start a whole new life. It has been the challenge of my life, and understanding the differences between the two continents that I straddle has forced me to have a look at these political situations. I've been really enjoying doing the commentary on this stuff, so it was inevitable that a friend of mine would send me this article. It breaks down how the Vice President of Nigeria called out Kemi Badenoch in a public speech, and it echoes some of the comments that I get on my channel whenever I talk about her. So what did he say exactly?
Rishi Sunak, the former British Prime Minister, is originally from India. A very brilliant young man. He never denigrated his nation of ancestry, nor poured venoms on India. Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the British Labour or Conservative Party. We are proud of her, in spite of her efforts at denigrating her nation of origin. She is entitled to her own opinions. She has even every right to remove the Kemi from her name. But that does not underscore the fact that the greatest black nation on earth is the nation called Nigeria. 1 out of every 3-4 black men is a Nigerian. And by 2050, Nigeria will surpass the United States, will be the 3rd most populous nation on earth. 1 out of every 3 black men will be a Nigerian.
So the key thing that he said was about her efforts to denigrate her country of origin. So let's look at the definition of the word denigrate. The term denigrate is a verb that means to criticize someone or something unfairly, often in ways that damages their reputation or makes them seem less important. Specifically, it can refer to, number 1, unfair criticism. Unfair criticism. To say very critical and often unjust things about someone, effectively attacking their character or reputation. 2, belittling importance, to make someone appear less significant or valuable than it truly is. So the question is that if the Vice President of Nigeria claims that they are proud of Kemi Badenoch, despite her efforts to denigrate the country, does Kemi Badenoch put forth effort to denigrate Nigeria? Now, the Vice President didn't state specifically something she said, but there's many examples of times when Kemi is critical, and we're going to look at the most recent occasion for this.
So you were born in the UK, but then your family moved back to Lagos, Nigeria when you were very young, and you were raised there for the first 16 years of your life. Now, in those years, Nigeria had a series of military coups. Inflation reached 40%. Life expectancy was around 46 years old. And by the end of the decade, 43% of Nigerians lived below the poverty line.
This is cold facts we're talking about here. You need to remove your emotions and just think about a country where life expectancy is 46. And remember, the definition of denigrate is to unfairly criticize.
Tell us about your childhood growing up in Nigeria and how this political and economic context shaped your character and shaped your politics.
So it certainly shaped my character, but my family shaped my character a lot more. I was born into a relatively wealthy family, and I was born in January 1980. This is just as the oil boom is taking off in the country in the 70s. Everybody's got lots of money, and my family is doing well, partly because of that. And
but they're not in oil. Your dad is
no, but he was a doctor who had lots of oil company, patients, and he worked for them to some extent as well. They would send their patients to him. So he didn't work for the companies, but he treated them and got paid very well. And my grandmother, who, grew up never learning how to read or write, was poor. She made a lot of money from trading. So she was my, initial inspiration.
There are so many Nigerians like that. Can't read or write, but they're great business people. And so far, her description is focusing on the positivity of the African family, despite those facts said earlier.
Woman who could never read or write, but she made so much money. She sent some of her children to the US to study, paid all the fees. Not my dad, but others, and they're still here. I still have family here because of what she did back in the 60s. But what really shaped me was watching the decline of the family wealth because of terrible economic policies that the country was having. And I tell people that it was socialism, and they say, oh, it wasn't socialism, it was just a military dictatorship. And this is one of the things which I referenced in the speech that I gave in Washington a couple of days ago, that people keep saying, oh, it's not socialism because it doesn't call itself that, but it is. It was the government owning everything, deciding which businesses would run and which ones wouldn't run by decree. It was, the government choosing which school you would go to. For secondary school, I wasn't able to pick the school. The government decided you will go to this school. And sometimes they send people thousands of miles away. And one day, for example, the water just stopped running. And it was just a state-run water company, just couldn't cope. And we ended up having to dig a borehole and get our own water. But for a long period, I had to go out fetch water. So I tell people that I know what it is like to be wealthy and also to not have any money to be poor. By the time I moved to the UK in 1996, there was virtually nothing left, hyperinflation and so on. And my dad gave me the equivalent of what was his last £100 and said, good luck, because I really wanted to come back to the UK and I had a British passport. So all of those experiences have shaped my view of the world, that even if you're wealthy, things can disappear. And you have to work very hard to maintain not just your family, but also your country.
So there we have a clear outline of the way she denigrates Nigeria. She lists the experiences that she went through. These are the same experiences that Nigerians in Nigeria often talk about. And there's many that still continue that Nigerians often talk about. For all of Nigeria's boom and smart people and wonderful potential and all of those things that we, yes, all recognize, that is not the context of what we're talking about here. When you're in politics, you get critiqued. Who are you? Where are you from? Why do you think the way you think? What forms your vision? And what is your perspective for a better country? So she continuously has to explain what her influences are, where she comes from, and how she got to the conclusions she got to around politics, rather than the politicians acknowledging that, saying, look how far we've come. I understand where Kemi's coming from. It was hard in those days. Thank goodness we now have a democracy. Instead of focusing on the progress made since that time, you want to accuse her of denigration. Tell me, where is the denigration? And maybe you think it's in some other clip that I haven't put here. But basically, every time I hear her speak, this is what she says. This is where I'm from. This is what I went through. I was middle class. I saw our wealth be decimated. I came to the UK and I found my way. What's wrong with saying that? Should she hide who she is? Kemi Badenoch has the potential, whether it will happen or not, I don't know, but she has the potential to become Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Wouldn't it be a smart thing for the Nigerian politicians to cozy up to her, to bring their grievances to her behind closed doors, to build a relationship with her, to put themselves in position to benefit from trade, from commerce, from sharing of knowledge and resources? But no, we get in our feelings, we get emotional, and we start talking about how the population is so big. Big population doesn't mean our problems are solved. And again, you have to separate the beautiful things about Nigerian culture, the family values, the food, the music, right? We're talking about the problems that people have actually lived and suffered through and are still suffering through. And if somebody is not allowed to say, these are the problems, then we'll never fix them. Now, when it comes to this speech, it was interesting to see the comments section because you had a lot of Nigerians giving their opinions. Overwhelmingly, they were critical of the vice president. Let's take a look. What has Kemi's policies got to do with Nigerian economy? Fix the economy. You are here talking about our population going to be more than America population. Apart from population, what again are we known for, Mr. President? People have their frustrations about Nigeria right now. The economy and the finances of the everyday person is way more important than how many people there are. I have to say, demographics is important because Africa is very young while it's growing so big. And that means that there's potential for growth, but it's potential. We still have to capture it. And we won't capture it if the economic policies are bad, if the countries are mismanaged. The second comment here says, leave her alone and fix your nation. Whatever Kemi said was based on her experience, exactly, when she was based in Nigeria before she left for the UK. And no one should blame her for such, exactly. Thank you. I hope they listen to Kemi again and again. Her speech was directed to the corrupt leaders. She never denigrated her country of origin. Who were the ones denigrating Nigeria? A lot of leaders have a great speech game, but then the policies are terrible and the actions are terrible. And I don't know if Kemi is giving any jabs to the corrupt leaders or the politicians or anything like that. Maybe the reason that they're coming out and attacking her is because they feel something. Sometimes you're only uncomfortable when you know in your heart that those words are true and it doesn't put you in the best light. In my opinion, there should be nothing but support for Kemi Badenoch. First of all, her achievement as a black Nigerian is amazing. It's inspirational. And focusing on that could do a lot for young black people in Nigeria. And secondly, the UK is a significant country in the world. Why not befriend her? Go and find out where you have places of mutual understanding rather than looking to tear people down. At least that's my opinion. I would love to know what your opinion is. And if you don't have an opinion but you're still watching right now, would it be too much trouble for you to put the word no denigration in the comments? It lets me know that you like the video, you like the channel, and that you're rocking with me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.